I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. At 44, with my wife expecting our first child, the last person I ever wanted to see again, my ex-wife, came crashing back into my life like a storm I thought had long passed. 3 years ago, she walked out on me and our son without so much as a second glance. A woman who once said family meant everything to her, then had an affair with a coworker and moved to another state just months after the truth came out. No apology, no visits, not even a birthday card for our boy. I thought I'd fall apart, but somehow, I held on. I raised our son on my own for nearly 2 years until I met Anna, the woman who made me believe happiness was still possible. Anna has been the gentlest thing to ever happen to me. She didn't just love me, she loved my son like he was her own. When she got pregnant, I cried. For the first time in years, I felt truly chosen, truly loved the way I always hoped to be. Then, just last week, I was picking my son up from school when I noticed a strange car parked near the playground. A woman stepped out. Her hair was shorter, she looked thinner, worn down, but I recognized her instantly. She walked toward me, eyes watery like she hadn't vanished for 3 years. And the first words out of her mouth were, "You still look exactly like you do in my dreams." I froze. She said she wanted to see our son, said she left the other man, said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. I told her plainly it wasn't the right time. I didn't tell Anna, not because I was hiding anything, but because I genuinely didn't know where to begin. 2 days later, Anna found out. She discovered a note I'd tucked away in my wallet, a phone number written in handwriting I hadn't seen in years. She didn't say much, just quietly grabbed her coat and stepped outside, her hands resting protectively over her 8-month belly. That night was the first time in more than 2 years that I felt completely lost. I stood in front of the mirror, staring at the man I'd become, and asked myself, am I about to lose everything again just because I didn't shut the door on the past when I had the chance? Anna came home late that night. She didn't tell me where she'd been, just walked in, took her shoes off slowly, set her purse down, and went straight to the bedroom. I sat on the sofa, still holding that piece of paper I'd meant to throw away but for some reason hadn't. I gently knocked on the bedroom door. No answer. I opened it slowly. She was lying on her side, hand resting on her belly, eyes fixed on the window in silence. I sat down on the edge of the bed and spoke in the softest voice I could manage. I didn't call her. I had no intention of doing that. I was just caught off guard. It all happened so fast. Anna turned to look at me. Her eyes were red, but there was a strange calm in them, something I'd never seen before. Do you have any idea how much I had to go through just to trust you again? To believe you were truly ready for a new beginning? I don't need big promises from you. I just need you to let go of the past. I swallowed hard. I have let go. It's just, she's the mother of my child. Whether I like it or not, I can't pretend she doesn't exist. Anna turned away. I'm not asking you to pretend she doesn't exist. I just need to feel that when I place my hand over your heart, there's no room left for anyone else. I wanted to hold her, but she turned her back to me. That night, we shared the same bed, but the space between us was wide enough to fit the entire past I thought I had already left behind. The next day, I took my son to the park like I promised. As I bent down to tie his shoelaces, I heard a voice from behind. It was her, my ex-wife. She stood there holding a bag of toys and some pastries from the bakery my son used to love. I stood up and stepped in front of him, speaking quietly. Not now. I told you not now. She looked at our son with sad, tired eyes. You can hate me, but he shouldn't have to choose sides. I know I was wrong. I'm just asking for a chance to make things right. I turned away and walked my son toward the playground. But even from a distance, I could still feel her eyes watching us. And for the first time in years, I truly didn't know who needed forgiveness more. I was terrified that in trying to do the right thing, I might end up hurting everyone I loved. Anna started waking up earlier than me. She cooked breakfast, prepared everything for the day, but she no longer teased me like she used to, no longer pressed her cheek against my back while I made coffee. She was polite, gentle, and heartbreakingly distant. She didn't argue. She didn't yell. She simply became quiet. I once read that a woman's silence isn't a sign of peace. It's a scream buried deep inside. And I could feel that silence every time I walked into the house, every time I saw her sitting at the laptop, her hand resting lightly on her belly, her eyes no longer holding that familiar warmth. One day, I came home early and saw her in the living room, video chatting with her mother. She smiled, but her eyes were filled with tears. Mom, I don't know if I'm strong enough to keep going. I know he loves me, but his past clings to us like a long shadow. And now I'm pregnant. I stood frozen outside the room. That sentence kept echoing in my head like a haunting refrain. That night, when I tried to talk to her, Anna said only one thing before going to bed. I'm going to stay with my mom for a while. I need time to think. No shouting, no tears, just a quiet retreat. As if she didn't want to break anything else in the house, not even the last shred of hope. 3 days later, I was home alone with my son when the phone rang. It was my ex-wife. She said she'd heard Anna had left. I could hear the worry in her voice. I didn't want this to happen, she said. I came back too suddenly. But I have no one else besides my son. I don't want to ruin your life, but I also can't vanish like I never existed. I was furious. You showed up right when Anna's pregnant. You say you don't want to ruin anything. But your presence already exploded like a bomb. I hung up. My heart pounded. The house was empty except for me and my son. But the silence felt like someone had carved a deep hole straight through my chest. The next day, I got a message from Anna. I'm okay. The baby's okay. I just need more time. Please don't contact me for a few days. And just like that, I found myself reliving that old feeling, alone, anxious, terrified of losing the person I loved most. But this time, I couldn't blame fate. This time, it was me, and all the things I hadn't truly let go of. I kept telling myself that time would fix it. I'd send her a few texts, write a heartfelt apology, and she'd come back like she always did after we'd weathered smaller storms. But this time was different, because while I was still trying to figure out how to fix things, my ex-wife started showing up more often. Not for me, but for our son. She sent a message asking about his school schedule and whether he liked the toy set from the other day. One Saturday afternoon, I had just brought my son home from his martial arts class when I saw her standing at the door, holding a bag of pastries and a brand-new model car. My son shouted with joy and ran to her, wrapping his arms around her like they'd never been apart. I froze. She smiled at me, her eyes just like I remembered, gentle, but now with a sense of determination. I'm not here for you. I'm here for our son. He needs his mother. And I need him too. I didn't know how to react. I'd never seen my son so happy, having both of us there. He laughed, ran around the house, showing off every toy, every drawing he'd made for his teacher. That night, after she left, I sat there watching him sleep. My heart was a mess of feelings. I had dreamed of a complete family, Anna as the mother, me as the father, and our child growing up in the love we built together. But now, his birth mother had come back, bringing with her all the emotions I had worked so hard to bury, and a quiet threat to everything I was trying to protect. A week later, she asked if she could take him to the park. I said no. But the way my son looked at me made me hesitate. In the end, I agreed on one condition. I would go with them. That outing wasn't easy. People passing by probably thought we were a happy family. But inside, I was tense. She talked about the old days, our first steps as parents, the sleepless nights, the first smile our son gave us. I looked over and saw him laughing, holding both her hand in mine. And for a moment, my heart tightened. Not because of old feelings, but because I was starting to understand something. This woman, in her own quiet way, was finding a way back into our lives. Not by force, not by arguing, but by reaching into our son's heart, and through him, shaking mine. When we got home, she said softly, "You know, he looks so much like you, but I see my eyes in him. Do you think a child should grow up with both parents?" I didn't answer, but that night, I couldn't sleep. Anna still hadn't come back. My son was starting to call for his mother more often, and for the first time, my heart trembled at a question I didn't want to face. Anna returned on a quiet, rainy afternoon. No message, no warning. She just stood there, soaked, holding a paper bag filled with snacks our son liked. Her eyes looked tired, but there was a spark of hope, like she was waiting for me to let her in. I looked at her for a moment, then stepped aside to open the door. She walked in, her gaze falling on our son's tiny shoes neatly placed by the door. "Where is he?" Her voice was shaking. I answered vaguely, "He's in his room." "But someone's here." She frowned, about to ask more, when our son's laughter rang out from the living room. And then, my ex-wife walked out holding him, smiling brightly. When she saw Anna, she froze. Our son looked confused. Anna stood still. The room went painfully quiet. My ex-wife put our son down, pulled her jacket tighter, and walked toward Anna. No one spoke, but their eyes held a storm. Finally, she broke the silence. I'm not here to take anything. I'm just trying to make up for the time I wasn't around. Anna gripped the bag in her hands, her voice still calm but colder than usual. You were gone because of your own choices. And me. I was here through the hardest parts. I don't need you to make up for anything. I need you to step back. I stepped in, my voice tense. Please, both of you, this isn't the time. Anna turned to me, her eyes filled with tears. You let her into our home, let her play with our son, share memories that should have been ours, while I've been the only one trying to hold this family together. I didn't know what to say. Any explanation now just felt meaningless. My son ran over and tugged on Anna's hand. Don't cry, Mom. Stay and play with me, okay? That one sentence hit all three of us like a knife straight to the heart. My ex-wife lowered her head, gave a faint, sorrowful smile, then walked out the door. Not a single word of goodbye. Anna picked up our son and held him tightly, her shoulders trembling slightly. I stood there, frozen, silently watching the two people I loved most, and feeling completely helpless. That night, Anna lay with her back, turned to me. The room was dark, but I knew she was still awake. I'm not sure I could survive a second time, if you don't choose me again. Her voice was so soft it felt like it melted into the pillow. I turned toward her, gently held her hand, but said nothing, because even I no longer knew what I was choosing anymore. After that encounter, the air in our house grew heavier than ever. Anna stopped asking questions. She wasn't playful or chatty like she used to be. She quietly went to work, cared for our son, then went to bed earlier each night. Her silence became a thick wall growing taller between us each day. One evening, I was cleaning up and found my old phone in the drawer. It still had some battery left. Curious. I turned it on and looked through some old photos, then suddenly saw a string of unread messages from Anna. They had been sent during the early days of our relationship, when I was still separated from my ex. One message made my heart stop. I know I'm walking into something uncertain, but if you're going back to her, please tell me soon so I can stop before it's too late. I had never seen that message, and maybe that's why everything spiraled this far. Around the same time, I found something else that threw everything into chaos. A few old voice recordings from my ex, dated nearly a year ago. I didn't come back because I wanted to fix things with you. I came back because I didn't believe our child would be happy growing up in someone else's hands. I stared at the screen, feeling like I was being yanked out of reality. Neither of them was completely right, but both of them had once hurt, swallowed tears, and sacrificed for me and for our son. The next morning, I woke up and saw Anna was gone. She left a handwritten note. I need a few days to think. Don't try to contact me, because I don't know if I'm clear-headed enough to forgive right now. Our son was staying with his grandmother. The house was just me now, empty and strangely cold. That afternoon, my ex-wife stopped by. Seeing that Anna wasn't home, she paused, then spoke in a calm voice. I didn't want this to happen, but maybe it needed to. So you could figure out what you truly want. I sat down and placed the phone on the table, letting her see the old message still on the screen. She stayed quiet for a long while, then turned to me, eyes weary. If I did anything wrong, it was stepping in before you had finished cleaning up your own wreckage. I'm sorry. I looked out the window. It was raining again, and this time, I wasn't sure who I wanted to hold the umbrella for. After Anna left, I felt like I was living in a daze. Each day passed slowly and with tension. I tried my best to take care of our son, but he kept asking about Anna, each time tightening a knot in my chest. My ex-wife, Linda, started visiting more often. She helped pick up our son from school, cooked a few meals, cleaned the house that had clearly been missing a woman's touch. I knew she wasn't doing this without intent, and I also knew Anna would never accept it. One Saturday evening, as I was cooking dinner, the doorbell rang. It was Anna. She came back earlier than I expected. She didn't say much, just walked in, looked around the house, noticing every small change. Then her eyes stopped on Linda, who was peeling fruit in the kitchen. No one said a word for a few seconds. The silence felt like thunder before a storm. At last, Anna spoke, her voice soft, but cold. I thought you were just here to pick up our son, not to take my place in this kitchen. Linda set the knife down, wiped her hands on a towel, and replied in an equally sharp tone. I'm doing what you left unfinished. No one's replacing anyone. I'm just filling in the space you left behind. I stepped between them, trying to calm things down. But nothing I said mattered when their eyes were still locked in a silent battle. Anna turned to me. How long are you planning to let her stay? A week? A month? Or until I never come back? Before I could answer, Linda spoke. I didn't. Between those two women was me. I know I made mistakes. Not because I let Linda come back, and not because I let Anna walk away, but because I couldn't make a decision. I thought I was trying to hold a family together, but in truth, I was only dragging out a wound everyone else could see, except me. That night, Anna called. She didn't cry. She didn't blame me. She asked just one question. If I wasn't carrying this baby, would you still choose to stay with me? I couldn't answer. I thought about Linda. She had once walked out on me. She left me lost for a long time. But when Anna left, she became a temporary comfort I didn't expect. Then I thought about Anna. She had accepted my past, loved even the scars I tried to hide. And now she was slipping away from the world we had built together. I wasn't sure if I still loved Linda, or if I was just being pulled back by old memories and familiar feelings. I didn't even know if I had the courage to fight for Anna when I still felt so torn inside. But I knew one thing: I had to choose. Not out of responsibility, not because of the past, but because if I kept hesitating, I would lose them both. And more importantly, I would lose myself. The next morning, I went to see Anna. She opened the door, not surprised to see me. We sat at the kitchen table like strangers trying to piece together something that had been broken for a long time. I told her everything. About the doubts, the guilt, the quiet fears I couldn't even name. And then I said, I choose you. Not because of the baby, but because when you left, I realized I couldn't live a single day without thinking about you. Anna stayed quiet for a long time. I didn't expect forgiveness. I didn't expect things to go back to the way they were. I just needed her to know that I was no longer the man caught in between. I moved back in on the first rainy day of the season. The house felt cold, like the distance still between us. Even though I had chosen her, even though she had said yes to giving me a second chance, nothing felt the same. Anna still cooked breakfast every morning, but she didn't wake me up. She still asked about my day, but she didn't look me in the eye when I answered. When I placed my hand on her belly, the baby stirred, but the mother stayed still. I understood. Trust is easy to lose and painfully hard to rebuild. Linda hadn't stopped. She started showing up more often, picking up our son without notice, sometimes sending old pictures with messages that said more than they should. One time, when I didn't respond, she texted me, "You can forget me, but our son never will." I didn't reply, but those words made Anna look at me differently, not because she believed Linda, but because she wasn't sure if I had truly closed that door. One evening, Anna asked, if Linda tried to come back again, would you be able to say no? I looked into her eyes. I didn't blink. I didn't look away. Yes, because now, the only people I want to protect are you and our child. Anna said nothing, but I saw her eyes soften, like a crack had formed in the ice. Our world began to mend itself with small acts. I took her to her doctor visits. She cooked my favorite dishes again. I turned down every invitation from Linda. I even asked a lawyer to help set clear boundaries when it came to co-parenting. But Linda didn't stop. She began to push harder. She used our son as a way to pull me back into the past. She asked to meet Anna, not to find peace, but to provoke her. Anna came home pale, her eyes red. I asked her what happened. She only said, if I had been the one who came later, maybe it wouldn't hurt this much. I couldn't breathe. The wound between the three of us no longer felt like a cut. It had turned into a maze of pain where anyone could lose their way. That morning, I was getting ready to take Anna to her doctor's appointment when the doorbell rang. It was Linda. She hadn't called ahead. She was holding our son's hand. Her eyes were heavy like dark clouds before a storm. Anna stood frozen at the door, one hand resting on her belly, her eyes alert. I stepped forward to say something, but Linda spoke first. I'm not here for you. I'm here for our son. I'm tired of fighting alone. Anna gently squeezed my hand. I knew she was trying to stay calm. Linda sat down, her eyes on our son, who clutched his backpack like he was afraid someone might take it away. He asked me why he doesn't get to live with both his mom and dad like the other kids. I didn't know what to say. I don't want to fight anymore, but I also can't let him grow up feeling abandoned. I stayed silent. For the first time in months, I saw real exhaustion in Linda, not stubbornness, not jealousy, just a mother on the verge of breaking. Anna looked at me, then turned to Linda. What do you want? Linda sighed. I want us to put our son above everything. We don't have to be friends, but at the very least, Let's not make him watch the adults treat each other like enemies. No one said anything for a few seconds. I could hear the ticking of the clock, like time itself was waiting for one of us to make a choice. Finally, Anna spoke. If that's what's best for him, then I agree. Linda nodded. No smile, but also no bitterness. Just a slow, quiet nod, like she was finally letting go of something heavy inside. That meeting didn't bring perfect peace, but it opened a small door, just enough to let a little light in. After that, we started making clear plans about taking care of our son. Anna, still cautious, no longer stopped me from seeing Linda when necessary, as long as it wasn't behind closed doors. I poured myself into the family. Every time Anna smiled, every time she placed her hand on her belly and talked to our unborn child, I knew I was on the right path. But I also knew mistakes from the past couldn't be erased with a simple apology. One day, after bringing my son back from a day out, he looked at me and asked, "Dad, can I have two moms?" I froze, staring into those big round eyes. I didn't know how to respond, but Anna stepped in, knelt down, and held him close. You just need to know that there are 3 grown-ups who love you. That's all that matters. I looked at the 2 most important people in my life, and for the first time in months, I felt the storm in my heart start to calm. In the final month of pregnancy, Anna grew more tired. Backaches, sleepless nights, and that quiet, creeping anxiety. I was always by her side, doing everything I could, from cooking and cleaning to massaging her feet every night. She still frowned now, and then when my phone lit up with a message from Linda, but she didn't say anything anymore. Maybe she was learning to let go because of our child, because of us. The day Anna gave birth, Linda texted to congratulate us. I replied simply, "Thanks. Mom and baby are safe." When I held my daughter in my arms for the first time, I cried, not just from joy, but because in that moment, I felt everything I had lost and slowly found again. The weeks that followed were a blur of diapers, cries, and sleepless nights. And yet, somehow, I wasn't tired. We weren't a perfect family anymore, but we were a family trying, learning how to love each other the right way. One Saturday afternoon, Linda came by to pick up our son. She walked in and saw me cradling our baby while Anna washed a bottle in the kitchen. Her eyes softened. She let our son run to his sister, then turned to me and said, "She's beautiful." I nodded. There was no awkward silence. Just 2 people who had been through the storm, looking at each other as ones who once loved, once hurt, and were now choosing to live with kindness. Before leaving, Linda looked at Anna and said, "Thank you for not shutting me out. I know that wasn't easy." Anna only nodded. No words needed. I knew. It was a quiet kind of forgiveness. Imperfect, but sincere. That winter, the 3 of us threw a birthday party for our son. No one spoke of the past. We lit candles, shared cake, laughed together. There were a few awkward glances, a few silent seconds between the smiles. But somehow, it still felt warm and real. Life is never a straight road. It wins and breaks and falls apart sometimes. But if you're brave enough to pick up the pieces and patch them together with honesty and time, happiness, even if it's not perfect, can still bloom. I used to think love was built on grand promises and forever vows. But now I understand, real love is choosing to stay, even when everything gets hard. And staying, that's the choice I made. For the rest of my life.